Hello. Hi. Happy Sunday. I have a story to share and I want to have a conversation. There's been just some things on my heart that I wanted to share, and we'll see how it flows, how they weave together. Partly because I'm a big believer in creating the spaces that we want to be in, starting the conversations that we want to have. I think that's really important, and this is a conversation that I really love to be in. So I'm going to share a parable, and there's a couple of things. One, my invitation, I'm going to use the word God, but my invitation is for you to listen to it through the lens of whatever your word is for a higher power, whatever your word or essence or energy is for that something that is greater than yourself. And I had the opportunity to teach meditation at a retreat earlier this year, and it was focused on addiction. It was a retreat for addicts, which is a fascinating world to be in. So this parable also is looking through that lens, and I'm going to circle back around to that piece because there's a couple of things that I want to share about it. But it came from a rabbi who's world famous for his work in this field and an amazing speaker. And it goes like this. So there's a man in distress. He's in deep, deep distress, and he's driving in the middle of the night, and he's talking to God. And he says, God, I will do anything to be sober. I will do anything to be sober. Tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And God says, okay, if you'll do anything to be sober, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you all the money that you have. And the man says, okay, I have $20 in my pocket. It's all the money I have in the world. It's yours. And the man says, but how will I put gas in my car? And God says, oh yeah, you have a car too. Okay, it's going to cost you your car. And the man says, all right, I'll give you my car, but how am I going to get to work? And God says, oh yeah, you have a job too. Okay, it's going to also cost you your job. If you want to be sober, it's going to cost you your job. Okay, I'll give you my job, but how am I going to pay the mortgage for my home? Oh yeah, you have a house, right? It's going to cost you your house too. And the man says, okay, I'll give you my house, but how will I take care of my wife and children? And God says, oh yeah, you have a wife and children too. It's going to cost you them as well. But here's the deal. You see this $20? I'm going to give it back to you. It's not your $20, it's my $20, but I'm going to let you use it, and you can only spend it in a way that I would spend it. You see this car? I'm going to let you drive it, but it's not your car, it's my car, and you can only take it to places that I would take it. And you see this job? I'm going to give it back to you, but it's not your job, it's my job, and you can only show up there in a way that I would show up. And you see this house? It's not your house, it's my house. And you can only be in it and take care of it in a way that I would. And you see your wife and children? They're not your wife and children. They're mine, they belong to me. But I'm going to let you be with them. And you can only treat them in a way that I would treat them. Right? So that's the story. And it's stayed with me. I've just carried it with me since that retreat. That was in April, so it's been a few months that I've been letting this work on me. And one of the teachings that comes through is when you give it to God, God gives it back. And the other thing is that it's not mine, the way that I have related to it, right? Like the home that I live in, the car that I drive, the business that I am running, my children, they aren't mine, right? They belong to the world, and my job is to be a good steward of all of those things. The money, right? That's a really big hiccup for a lot of us. And there's this sense of pressure of like, I have to do it a certain way. And it's when you hand it over to something greater than yourself, there's a release in that pressure. And the other thing I want to highlight about this parable is the addiction, right? Like, and the prayer that we have, like how often are we asking some higher power for, please, I'll do anything, right? I'll do anything to sell this painting. I'll do anything to be at the top of my field. I'll do anything to have this money. I'll do anything to not have this anxiety. I'll do anything to be the best at whatever. I'll do anything to have kids. I'll do anything to have a partner. Just tell me, what do I have to do, right? And so there's that piece. And then this addition of addiction. Like, I don't think that, one of the other things the rabbi said that really stuck with me was that addiction isn't the problem, it's the solution, right? It's the solution for not having to feel what we feel. And how many of us are just scrolling on our phones, you know, or like separating ourselves from reality, moving into a space of just feeling numb intentionally because life is too much. The world is too much, right? On our little devices, we have access to so much tragedy. And then next to that, we have a highlight reel of all of these people are doing amazing. And so there's this like, do I feel bad about myself because I can't do anything about the war on the other side of the world? Do I feel bad about myself because this person seems to be handling it better than I am? You know, all of these reasons to be at odds with ourselves. So we're addicted in that sense, right? But we're also addicted to our personalities. We're addicted to our identities. We're addicted to feeling states. And because it is a solution, because we don't know ourselves in any kind of context without it. And there's nothing wrong with any of this. It's just an interesting observation and an even more interesting thing to question. Is this true? Is this accurate? Is there a different or better way to be in the world? And I think that there is. And I think the path to that is faith. And this is why. There's this, maybe you've seen it out on the internet where it says, you know, faith and fear both require you to believe in something you cannot see. But it's not modeled to us how to believe or support faith. And faith in our experience is, one, something that we don't even really have access to, right? For me, for many years, it wasn't even like on the board. And I'll share a little bit about my experience with it because I think that it's valuable. And it's just like, how does it work? How do you do it? You know, in our language, in the lexicon of English, it's passive. Faith is something passive that like spontaneously happens to you. And in Hebrew, faith is active. It's an action that you take. It's something that you do. And it means to support God, to support your higher power, to support that something greater than yourself. And how do we flip that? How do we participate in that? How do we use that as something that can be of service to us so that we have a strong foundation, right? Like, there is a difference between anchoring yourself up toward the person you want to be, the life that you want to have, the fulfillment you want to experience, anchoring yourself up toward that and pulling, and anchoring yourself down into who you were, your identity, all the things that are crunchy about your world, and who you are and how you show up, all the insecurity, all the doubt, all the fear, and trying to push up from that, right? Like, can you feel the energetic of that? It's different. And so faith gives us this like springboard for expanding, but also just being present, you know? Part of the reason that I want to have this conversation around spirituality and religion is because it's a conversation that I want to be in, like I said, and I feel like it's really something that we don't have access to. So, and where I'm coming from is my mom is Jewish, right? So that line passes through the mother, so I'm Jewish. My dad was Southern Baptist, and I was not bar mitzvahed or baptized. And so for a significant chunk of my life, I felt like I missed out on the initiation, right? Like I somehow had been left to like hang out in the ether where no God had claimed me. And that was disheartening. And then I entered my academic study as a scholar and had the opportunity to study almost only religion and all of the different varieties that it expresses in our world from an academic perspective. And that was fascinating. And my spirituality developed through that education, but also through suffering. And I don't think that it has to happen like that. So there's that piece. There's also this piece of religious like disenchantment, you know, where we're so disappointed. We're so disappointed to learn that our religious leaders are human, you know, and not only are they human, but they do really terrible human things. And then that gets tied up in our interpretation or perception of divinity, and then we're in a distortion. We're just spiraling and lost, and there's nothing and no one that we can trust, right? Because if like the most holy of holies is not to be trusted, then like, you know, we might as well just give up now. And it is always just burned, you know, like this beautiful flame within me that's not accurate. You know, that God and spirituality and access to a higher power, all of that is very much alive and well and something that we can participate in. I want to share this story. When I was looking for my home, my beautiful, amazing home that I live in now, we call it Black Hawk House. There were 10 months where I didn't know where I was going to live and was very uncomfortable in the living situation that I was in. I didn't like it, right? I wanted out. And I like did all of the things. I made a vision board. I wrote out what I wanted. I sat with all of my feelings around it. And it was just really clear to me that I needed help. You know, like I needed some sort of assistance that was going to make this journey bearable. And so I sat down one day with an oracle card deck and I was praying. You know, like I have this really beautiful one. It's from an artist in Australia. And just praying like, hey, give me a sign, right? And we see that a lot out on the internet, like, give me a sign. And it's kind of this woo-woo joke. But when there's intention and substance behind it, then it matters. I mean, it matters across the board, but the joke is give me a sign, you're a sign, right? So we also have to listen. But the card that I pulled out was a beetle. And I just was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? You know, like, what the hell does this mean? Well, like, that's not sexy, right? Like, that's not the sign that I was looking for, but okay, you know, all noted, beetle. And I looked at house after house after house after house, and just wasn't it. Time is passing, you know, feeling like, is this ever gonna be? Am I ever gonna like get what I'm needing? And then I walked into this house and I knew it right when I opened the door, right? Like I was looking for a feeling, and when I opened the door, I was like, oh, that this is the feeling, this is the house. And we're like looking around, and I tour the whole place, I look at it, I'm like, yes, all of the things are here, yes. And we go out into the backyard, and there's this really pretty garden built along the back fence. And there's this huge beetle flying around in the garden, and it just like, it almost makes me cry now talking about it, because it was just this moment of like, oh, like I'm not doing this alone. And things unfold with purpose, and I don't know exactly how all of it works, but I do believe that there is some kind of design in the fabric of how we get to be in the world, and the path lights up for us, and I do believe that becoming the person we're meant to be in this lifetime, like the path of self-actualization, the path of highest and best expression for ourselves and the people we love and the people around us, is real. I do think that is like the whole point of life is to become the person that you're meant to be, and enjoy it, all the little details of it along the way. And when we don't have a sense of a higher calling, a higher purpose, a higher power, it's really hard. It's really hard to be human. There's also, in general knowledge, I'm not talking about specialized knowledge, but in general knowledge, humans, the form and the expression that we take now are called Homo sapiens, right? And I think it's very interesting that term started like 250 years ago. And so if we think about what religion looked like 250 years ago, and then orient ourselves here in the now in 2024, it's like it doesn't compute, right? If we're still trying to relate to religion and spirituality from a framework that doesn't serve, that hasn't evolved, that doesn't weave together with our modern lifestyle, it's like just being a windsock, trying to fit ourselves in places that don't fit anymore. And so the way that I like to think of it is homo luminous, right? Which is like illuminated man, illuminated being, shedding illumination. We're more light, we're more energy. We have access to more aspects of ourselves, more nuance, more detail, more power. And it's really important that we learn how to wield it, right? And we do this in partnership. We do it in service to, ourselves, but the people around us and the collective of like, okay, let's move this ship forward, right? I also believe that we are on the leading edge, right? Like, and we have a choice. We can either like move with that and ride that edge and make adjustments, move ourselves out of our addictions and into our brilliance, or stay stagnant and spin and spiral and feel crunchy all the time and wonder why it just doesn't work for us. And that just isn't going to work for me, So what else do I want you to know? Okay, I want you to know that Closer to Spirit, our opening call starts next Sunday. And if you have ever felt disconnected from a higher power, if you have ever felt curious about that space, if you have ever walked into a place of worship and been like, this is really great, but like, I don't really fit in here and I don't really get it, you know, but the singing is beautiful and whatever, and then never gone back or maybe gave it a couple shots but was like, yeah, no. Or if you find like that resonance, that presence in Mother Nature, but it's like you have to drive out into the desert to feel it. Then I would invite you. My invitation is for you to check this out, because we're going to go through all of the pieces. We're going to go through healing the God wound, which is like such a fundamental root thing. We're going to go through building a faith foundation, what that looks like, how you do it. We're going to go through sorting out and creating your personal prayers, practices, and participation with that power. And then we're going to talk about how you turn it into art. All of life, right? But like styling your spirituality, letting it be an art, letting it be a dialogue, letting it be a conversation. And I will remind you again of that parable, right? Like, it doesn't mean that you can't have what you want. It means that you don't have to carry it. You don't have to carry it on your own. Okay, that is what I have to say for you today. I love you. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening and hearing any part of this. If any of it landed, I would love to know. If you know anyone that would benefit from hearing it, please share it. And I'll see you next time. XOXO, big heart. Take care.